This episode is proudly supported by Westholme Australian Wagyu. Whether you're a chef or just love going to restaurants, you know the best ingredients are everything, especially when it comes to beef. Westholme, based in Queensland and the Northern Territory, Australia, is working with the land to create nature-led Australian Wagyu. They steward 16 million acres of rangeland, guided by the natural ecosystem where cattle graze and forage on native grasses for the first few years of their lives. The result is high-quality Wagyu beef that reflects the terroir of Northern Australia. Westholme believe that when nature leads, flavour follows. Learn more at westholme.com.
I mean, you can immerse yourself into hospitality and actually it gathers a lot of aspects of how humans connect with the world. And so it's just endless.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. It's a challenging time for just about everyone in the hospitality sector at the moment, but what's it like trying to open your very first restaurant at a time when so many are struggling? What are the risks and rewards? Mark Hannell is the chef and co-owner of Reed House in Melbourne. Mark, how are you?
I'm good, man. Yourself?
I'm good. You're doing the crazy thing. We heard it during COVID, people opening restaurants and tough economic times, and you're opening your first restaurant.
I think it's because we're stupid, but I don't know. It's like me and my partner, we've dreamt of this for years, and it's like, if we don't do it now, when are we going to do it? So let's just go for it.
Well, what's it been like, sort of this period of time? We know that it's a tricky period for the restaurant sector, but what has it been like for you building a restaurant?
So I think for us that we found this spot, which is like super magic, and we're like, we just cannot turn this opportunity down. So it's like great location, the bones are there for it, so we don't like need to inject a huge amount of cash into it. And we're just like, I don't know, this is the time for us and it feels right. So, and everyone's been so supportive and it's, I don't know, it's bringing a bit of joy to some people, and yeah, we're just going to try and build it and go from there.
Take us back to when you found the site and what you thought of it and a bit about the building of why you love it.
So our business partner, Michael, he got wind of this site a few years ago, and then because it's a heritage listed building, it's it's a real special bluestone building. It was built like ages ago, 1859, and so it was like it's like next to a church, and it was like a home for the person around the church, and then it was used for a refuge for disenfranchised ladies, and then it housed the Big Issue for a little bit, and then it got turned into a cafe sort of around COVID times, and then that just didn't pan out as well as they hoped, and then it sort of lay dormant for I think maybe a year. And yeah, so Michael got wind that this site was back on the market, and he knew me and Bex were like looking at different spots. So he just rang me up and he was like, check out this site. It's like across the road from Caretakers. It's got the bones. And I was like, sounds great. And then so we went to view it and we're just like, this is amazing. So like, because mine and Beck's dream is like, we've always said, for us, it's like, we want to build a restaurant, which is like someone come around our house, just having like a meal and a few drinks. It's like, well, this is actually a fucking house. So it's like absolute win. So we're like, well, let's just put all our life savings into this and cry.
You mentioned that it had been a house and also a cafe, but did you have to do a lot of work internally to get it to sort of into the shape that you wanted?
So luckily, because the bones are so good, they'd like the previous tenants had like triggered all the heritage and like installed all the equipment, and most of it is like left there. And so we don't really have to do anything, just like a few cosmetic changes, just stick up some artwork. We are building a bit of an extension of the bar, and that's about it really. So that's not even going to penetrate the ground. That's going to be almost like a floating system. So yeah, not too crazy. It's just, a little cosmetic fun stuff.
Tell us a little bit about the building and the space and how it will work. Is it a bit different to sort of your standard restaurant, given that it was a house?
So yeah, it's like it doesn't have one big dining space, which with an open kitchen, which like if I could like click my fingers and that would be like the magic dream. But it's got like a few different rooms. So there's like two rooms downstairs, which like one would be the main dining space with the bar, and then the second room is just like a side room. It still sits about 25 people, and it's got like these beautiful old school fireplaces. They're closed, but they're like really stunning. And then we've got outside, which is undercover. So Lord knows when you can use that in Melbourne, maybe like when it doesn't rain. And then out the back, we've got like a courtyard, which is heated and covered, which is pretty cool. And then upstairs is two bigger rooms for like private dining. So yeah, it's a bit clunky, but it's actually kind of cool.
This is your first venture. What's the process been like for you? Has it surprised you sort of what it takes to sort of build your own sort of business?
Yes and no. I've been quite lucky that me and Bex have helped to open up other businesses. Like especially with the Ducks, we helped open 2 spots with them. So there's been a lot of stuff that I've just nicked that I knew that they did right. So I'm taking that. And then we've had Michael help guide us, and then so Michael's opened a fair few spots. So we've been not too bad, not too many surprises. Well, today the dishwasher doesn't work, but that's okay. We'll fix it.
You mentioned that you always wanted to create a venue that it felt like people were stepping into your home. Give us a sense of what it feels like in the restaurant, and also 1 or 2 dishes with your cooking that sort of exemplifies what you're doing.
So I guess it feels like, it has like a homely feel, but it's sort of like modernly done up inside. So it still feels like you're sat in like a decent space, but yeah, then it's got these like cute little like fireplaces, and the rendering on the windows are a beautiful finish. And then, yeah, it just feels like even just us sat in there building it, it's just felt super homely and friendly, and just everyone that's come in has just like always been blown away. And I don't know if that's because Bex is so nice to be around. It feels that way for us or for me. And then, so some of the dishes we're going to do is like, I'm sort of like going to lean on a bit of the British heritage of myself, because also the building was built by, well, the architect that designed it was from Cornwall. And then so it's sort of named, his surname was Reed, his name was Joseph Reed, so we called it Reed House. So, and like we just loved that word, Reed, it's such a beautiful word. And then we always were going to call it something house, and then Bex was like, oh, let's call it Reed House. Like, damn, she thought of that before us. It's like, damn, fuck. She absolutely won there, which is infuriating, but it's okay. So, but yeah, so we were going to lean on my British heritage a little bit. Like we've got a roast chicken dish with bread sauce, and I'm making like a saltbush za'atar like garnish, and then we got some crumpets, which we're going to do like Welsh rarebit style, and we got Scotch eggs, but we're doing them with like the ramen eggs, so like the egg you get on top of ramen that's been like marinated in soy and vinegar. So we're doing that as a Scotch egg with mushroom ketchup. So we're kind of leaning on what the house is, where it's like this mix of like modern and sort of old school heritage stuff.
I want to explore what you're doing there, and also how you work together with Beck and pull this sort of stuff together that you've done previously as well through Blue Ducks. But take us back to when you were young. You mentioned the UK. Whereabouts did you grow up, and what sort of role did food play?
So I grew up in the southwest, sort of near sort of Bath, Bristol, Stonehenge, like that kind of area. And I was just a proper council estate 90s kid. Like food was food was not like the most exciting thing, and I was a bit of a rat bag teenager, and it wasn't that very important in our household. And it was kind of, I think, just at that age where we all were, where it's like frozen meals and all that shit. But like, luckily, my uncle was a really keen home cook. So when we used to go visit him, like I have these fond memories of him like making these elaborate like Chinese meals out of a Ken Hom cookbook, and he turned me on to which actually it's crazy because sadly he passed away. But I've actually got a couple of his cookbooks, and I actually managed to get the Ken Hom one, which is like really cool. It's just it's cool. And then he turned me on to Jamie Oliver. He's like, mate, check this out, and I've actually got his copy of The Naked Chef here, and so like then I got into it. I was just like mad, like just watching like food TV, and like my best mate Sean, like we grew up in the same like neighborhood, and he's now a killer chef in Manchester. He just won Chef of the Year in Manchester last year. So we used to just get stoned and make these curry nights as well in our little hometown. And yeah, so that's sort of how food then became like a thing for me, and it just like was this like hobby that I had. And yeah, I didn't really think about it professionally. It was just something I did just in the background.
How did you take those steps to sort of step into the professional kitchen? What was it like?
So then I moved to London basically on a back of a credit card, which was like I maxed out within like the first day, I think. And I was just on Gumtree, and I was like, I'm just going to apply for any job. And I always thought, oh, my mates always said you're good at cooking. Like, maybe I'll, see what I can get a cooking job. Just going through Gumtree, just hitting everything. And then I get a phone call. It's Itamar from Ottolenghi. I'm like, what the fuck is this? I was like, I don't even know what this is, but all good. And I'm like staring at the website, just going, well, wow, this is amazing. Like, I was in Notting Hill. I was like, oh, I lived in Tooting in South London, and so, well, I'll just go to Notting Hill, and even if I can just see this space and just like get a free sandwich, this would be like the greatest day of my life. And so I went there, and I think he quite quickly realised that I had zero experience. But so he was like, "Oh, I'll get you in for a trial," and I couldn't even zest a lemon. I was literally the worst chef that's ever applied for a position anywhere, and that is not a joke. And so I was terrible. And he's like, "Look, you're not really going to be very good in Notting Hill, but we have a position in Kensington, which is one of their smaller shops. It was a little bit quieter, but actually it was really good. And there was a guy called Jed there who's the head chef, and he just took me under his wing. It's like, I owe my whole life to Jed for taking me on. It's crazy. Like my life is like two parts of like before I worked at Ottolenghi and then after working at Ottolenghi. It's like from black and white to color TV for me. It's like, yeah, it's so crazy. Like Jed is still a life mentor to me to this day. He's not a chef anymore. He's an engineer and lives in Canberra. But like he's the smartest guy that anyone's ever met. And yeah, still all my important things in my life, I go through Jed, and yeah, he guides me a lot in my life. But yeah, wild. So Ottolenghi was my first ever job.
That is incredible. That's like a dream of any sort of young chef to start that way. Tell us a little bit more about Jed. Do you have any stories of being in the kitchen with him and the influence that he had?
Yeah, so he was just like, he kind of liked me because we were into the same music. And he was like, well, maybe I can just chat to Mark about music and I'll teach him how to cook. And so he just had the most patience in the world and just really looked after me. And I don't know why, I think he just took a shine to me for some reason. And I just worked my fucking ass off. And he just taught me how to hold a knife, how to cut a vegetable, how to season a chicken dish. It's like so vivid in my mind, all these things he taught me. Yeah, just an incredible human. Like everyone that knows him knows that he's like this amazing person. And yeah, he did like literally change my life. It's mad. So I did 5 years there with Ottolenghi and then helped to open, part of the opening team of Nopi when they opened Nopi in the city. And that's where I met Rebecca, and she was doing her 2 years in London on the bar, and I was like a CDP downstairs in the kitchen, and we just hit it off. And so then she had to move back to Australia, and then so I just followed her. I was like, wow, let's do it. Because Jed had moved back to Australia at the time, and I was like, I'll go see him and do some traveling or whatever. And then, so then I landed in Melbourne chasing a girl, and been here for 11 years.
What was it like when you landed in Melbourne? Was it what you expected?
No, so we have like, when I landed, it was kind of, it was just on the turn of like turning into winter. I remember me and Bex went maybe 6 months later to Port Douglas. And I said to Bex, I was like, fuck, I thought Melbourne was going to look like this. Because in my mind, the whole of Australia just looked like northern Queensland. So I was a bit surprised that it was like a city, but then I was like, this is sick and it's cool. And Bex's family is from here. And it was just like, we just slipped straight into the community of Melbourne. And that was great. And it was wild for me being away from London and the UK. But yeah, really cool. I mean, Melbourne's just the coolest city,
Take us through sort of your culinary journey in Melbourne. Whereabouts did you get your foot in the door there, and what were the really important venues and people that you worked with?
So when I landed, I just did the classic thing of working at Vue de Monde, like everyone that lands in Australia, and which was great. I had a great time. I did think it was just shy of 6 months there. And then I needed to do my farm work to get my second year visa. So a friend of mine, Dan, who was working at Vue de Monde, put me in contact with Annie Smithers because he had previously done his. Yeah, I know. It's like it all just fell in my lap. This like crazy opportunity. And then so I hit up Annie Smithers. We drove out there, and yeah, she took me on, and it was what she always says now, because if she meets people that we know in common, she says, "Oh, Mark's a lovely guy. World's worst farmer." So it's just, I mean, it's, you know, I was literally, I mean, I remember trying to turn the ground and I was so weak, and it was like this crazy summer where it was like 45 degrees. She literally thought some days that she was going to come home to find me dead in the field.
We've had Annie Smithers on the show a couple of times. She's an absolute legend. What's she actually like to work with, though?
I think Annie Smithers is a national treasure. Like, for me, she is the funniest person. Like, there's a few people in the world that make me laugh, but she has her own comedy, and it's like no one makes me laugh more than her. And she's so smart and I don't know, like, beautiful human. And I just like everything about her. I love, like, she has such a passion for things and like sees the beauty in, like, if it's a certain type of wool, she like really researches it and gets mad into it, or like, you know, everything in her life, she just sees the beauty in things and really engages with that. And I feel like I learned a lot from her in that, and I feel the same way. There's just these mad things I get like crazy into, and I could just appreciate them on like such a deep level. And that's how she is with her friends, her colleagues, and her business, and just her life. And it's, I don't know, amazing human.
Your CV is just extraordinary up until that moment. Where did you go from there?
And then I went to Rockwell & Sons. So, like, I had some family members pass away in the UK, and it was a bit of a rough time for me. I was a little bit lost. I had a few jobs, but I was kind of a bit shithouse. And then Bex was working at Bar Americano, and Manu came in and was having a drink there, and said, "Oh, I need a chef at Rockwell." And we'd eaten at Rockwell, you know, like, it was the best burger joint, and actually it was just a great restaurant. I mean, everyone loves Rockwell. It's like a cult classic, you know. And so I just hit Casey up, or I sent my CV in, and Casey wasn't there the first night I did my trial. I think it was Mel Musso. I was like, this is fucking amazing. And then I clicked with Casey, like, big time. And, you know, Casey for me is just like, he's pretty much the best chef in Australia, I feel. Like, he's just incredible. That's how I feel. Like, everything he turns his hand to, it's like, you think about his businesses of, like, Rockwell was just the coolest restaurant, churning out like that best Southern American food, and he's doing super interesting things. And then Liberty, when he opened Liberty, like, doing all that modern cuisine. And, you know, I joined Liberty after the first 6 months of Liberty, and I have the fondest memories of, like, me, him, Joel Allardyce, who's now running Emerald City. Like the food at Liberty when we opened, it was like incredible time in Melbourne. And then everything he does with the bakeries, like, it's just nuts what he does. Like, he's a fucking nightmare, but I love the guy. Like, I don't know, like, now we're just really good buddies. Now I don't work for him anymore, but like, we're really good buddies, and we're both mad into wine. So we just go and have these little nerdy little wine nights, me and him, and he takes the piss out of me, and I go home and cry. It's perfect. But yeah, incredible chef, and just so I don't know, I just think he's amazing. And everyone that's eating his food, and everyone that works for him, I think you can see a pattern of people that have come from underneath his, like, tutelage of, like, how you season food, think about food. I think now you're sort of seeing that wave of people that came out from the Madewell group. You know, Caitlin will eventually do her own thing for sure. I mean, look what Zach is doing at Liberty. And then it's just like Joel with Emerald City, and then all the front of house people. You've got the people over at Bricko, and I don't know. I think a lot of people are going to come out of that group now, and I think there will just be a map, and it will all trace back to there.
At the top of the show, you mentioned the Three Blue Ducks and how you and Beck had helped them open some venues. How did the gig with them come about?
So we made a decision whilst I was working at Liberty. Like, actually, it's a funny story. Casey was like, "Oh, I need to talk to you upstairs." And I was like, "Oh, I need to talk to you too, Casey." And went upstairs, and there was like a bit of a shuffle going on in Liberty, and he wanted to offer me like the senior sous chef role, and I was like, and he's like, "Oh, you could do 4 days, and it'd be this," and it was like my dream. And I was like, "Oh, fuck, Case, I'm actually going to quit today. I'm going to move to Byron Bay." And we just hugged it out, and it was all good. So I just wanted to do a little bit beachside living, live the Australian dream. And so we moved to Byron, and actually, funny story is that Jed, that first ever head chef for me, he'd gone on holiday to Byron and was like, "I ate in this restaurant. I think they're doing something really incredible. You should check it out." And it always just stuck in my mind. And we went and ate at the Ducks. I was like, "This is fucking gold." And I just dropped my CV off, and luckily got the phone call and ended up just been working there as a CDP. And yeah, it was the greatest time. Like, Morto, the head chef there, is just an absolute legend. I've never seen anyone make miracles happen like he can. It's just nuts. Because it's such a beast there, but it's so cool. The farm just there on the land, like, you're getting lettuces delivered like at the gate, like still warm from the sun. It's just been picked. It's like unbelievable. You look out from the pass and you can just about see the pigs that, are then going to be on the spit. It's just like, wow, this is nuts.
Did that change of lifestyle have an impact on you to the warmer climates?
Absolutely, like absolutely. Like Byron is, it's a funny town. Like, I loved it, and like the community up there, and all the people it attracts, like all the creative characters, and I just think everyone kind of like gels there, and everyone that's in like the food industry just all bands around each other. And yeah, it's incredible. Like all the like Sammy Solwick with Bread Social, like he's just an absolute legend, and Swanee and Jeremy with 100 Mile and Albay Gross are just incredible humans that just attract. I don't know. They managed to pull in the right people at the right time, it seems, in Byron, and yeah, we loved it.
How did you end up back in Melbourne?
So in Byron, we lived up there during the whole COVID era. So probably one of the luckiest places to be during that time, I think, being in Byron. And it's just like the Ducks supported everyone, and we managed to stay open because it was kind of outside, and they had the retail arm, and then so that all closed off, and then we started going back to normal life. And then me and Bex did a couple of pop-ups just around the town, like a local area, and Daz came to one of them, and just really enjoyed what me and Bex did. And then after COVID, sort of like all the restrictions stopped, they had this nightclub that the Ducks owned in town in Byron, and they couldn't open it as a nightclub. So Darren just pulled me aside one day, and he was like, "Hey, what about you and Bex run this wine bar in Byron?" And so we were like, "Well, fuck it, let's do it." And that was Oma. And then so me and Bex helped open that for them, and we did 9 months. Like, it was really cool, great spot. Super fun, and we did some cool things there, but then it was all the snap lockdowns, all that crap, and no staff. There was like literally no one available. Like, some nights it was just me and Daz in the kitchen, just like fuck, Daz on the dishes. It was great. He's probably never worked so hard in the last 5 years, Anyway, so then there was an opportunity for them to sell the business or whatever, and so that closed. And sort of like me and Bex, like we put our heart and soul into that business, and so we thought maybe it's time for us to go back to Melbourne, and Bex's family is here, and they just go for the next chapter in our lives. So and then the head chef in the Ducks in Melbourne was actually leaving. Like, he just handed in his notice that the week that we were saying that we're going to move to Melbourne. So then Andy Allen's on the blower, and he's like, "Hey, geezer, what are you up to?" I'm like, "Well, I'm moving down to Melbourne." He's like, "Well, come, let's have a beer and have a chat." And so they wrote me back in. So and then I did 2 years with the Ducks here in Melbourne as head chef. It was great.
Tell us about the working relationship with Beck. You've mentioned that you met in the UK and you've worked at so many venues together, but what's it actually like putting together a venue together?
It's been a dream. She is everyone that knows Bex just knows her as she's just a weapon. She's so calm, she's so lovely, and she's so talented and knowledgeable and super smart and organized. And and she puts up with me and she can like rein me in when I'm like, oh, let's just go buy this really beautiful piece of art. And she's like, for fuck's sake, like maybe we should like write the contracts. I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds good. She's just, I think she brings out the best side in me, and we're just a good little duo. I think, she is, an incredible person, and so hardworking and cares so much and loves the industry. Like all we do is hospitality. Daz always says if anyone's done more market research in the hospitality sector, it's me and Bex, because he just always jokes about, well, where the bloody hell you eating tonight? Because all we do is eat out and drink cocktails and get mad into wine. So I think she's got like a wealth of knowledge. And no, there's probably been, I mean, there was one day that we had a little bit of a tiz, but it's all good. Even at Oma, and during the 9 months, I mean, it was twice that we sort of like had a heated conversation. But she's good. Honestly, there's no one calmer. I remember the opening night of Oma, the till system went down. Like, it just died. And me and Daz are like fucking churning out the food, and it's like fucking end of the world, and she's like, all good, I'll fix the till. It's like, and she was just so calm. She's like, I'm going to ring support, all good, da-da-da-da-da. And we're like, and just Daz told me, he's like, how the fuck is she that calm? Incredible.
How are you feeling at the moment? You've been building your very first sort of business of your own. And what's it going to feel like when you open the doors?
Yeah, good question. I think every day is different for us. Like, it's up and down. Some days my confidence is low, and I'm like, well, who the fuck am I to open this restaurant? Who's going to come eat the food I want to cook? And I don't know. And then some days we're just like, we're going to smash this. This is going to be the best thing ever. It's going to be great. And then, I don't know. It's all just little increment things that just happen. Like at the start, you've got this massive chart of things that you need to do. And it's like, I think it was 260 tasks that we wrote down that we needed to do to get the business open. And so every week you just knock them off. So like today is Monday, and Bex is in there, and she's like, well, the fucking winter hole is broken today. All good. Like, it's just, we will find a way. We're going to get the guy out. We'll fix it. It's like, it's okay. So it's just all these little hurdles, but you just get over them. So they're just little bumps in the road. And then, I've had so much support, like Daz and Andy, like behind the scenes of everything they do, like the support we've received is just incredible. Like, Andy Allen might be the busiest working person in Australia, but, he lent me a bloody sander for us to sand the tables. And like seriously, it's just incredible. Like, he doesn't need to do that. Like, no one's going to know he's done it. Like, he's not doing it for any other reason than just to be a legend. And Darren as well. It's just been a massive support, like, in my life. Like, he is, I'm very lucky to have met these people. Like, Daz for me is just an incredible person that the time, like, he's changed so many people's lives. I mean, when you sit with him, it's like the Rolodex of bloody his contacts in his phone. He's like, oh, sorry, just Dan Hong's just calling me. Oh, sorry, what I mean? It's just like, oh, fuck it, hell. Like, I don't know anyone. And he's like, and all these people, I know they all look up to him and what he's done for the industry. It's amazing. And honestly, like, he'll just shoot me a little text, or he'll give me a call, and it's like, or if I've got a question, he'll just answer, just honestly. And like, even if it's like the answer I don't want to hear, it's like, well, fucking hell, Hannell, that's going to cost you 200 grand. You cannot do that. Or he'll be like, mate, of course you can do this, and find a solution. And he's like hooked us up with so many like little things. And yeah, it's just, I cannot thank those guys. It's just, they gain nothing out of it to do it. And it's just like, they're just so humble to do this support for us. And it's so, yeah, it's just amazing for us. And that helps us. So like, we might have a low moment, and then someone in the industry just reaches out and gives us a little hand. It's the biggest difference for us. And it's like the smallest part of their day. It's funny how it all works out.
Well, it's very exciting times for you and Beck. What do you love about what you do?
I love everything. I think the hospitality for me is it's our whole world. It's like, I never socialize outside of something that is not hospitality. I mean, my Sarit, who runs Honey & Co. in London, there's a quote in one of her books where it's like, when she goes to an event and it's like, she's just going as a guest, she'll sneak into the kitchen just to be part of it, because that's her happy place and that's how she bonds with people and connects. And then it's like, I feel the same way. Like, if I meet someone that's not into hospitality, it's like, I don't know what I'm going to talk about here, or what am I going to do? So it's our whole world. And then I just love everything, like the food, like everything, like wine. You just think about how everything is connected, like culturally, geographically, like how it all breaks down and works, and how it evolves around the world, and how it connects everything. Like, I mean, you can immerse yourself into hospitality and actually it gathers a lot of aspects of like how humans connect with the world. And so it's just endless. I feel real fortunate that I managed to find hospitality.
Well, there's a lot of people that are very glad that you did. And Mark, it's an absolute honour to have you on Deep in the Weeds today. Good luck with the opening, and look forward to catching up with you again down the track and hearing all about it.
Absolutely, when we're just in tears on the floor and you'll be like, oh, can I do another chat? Oh, God.
Well, hopefully
all
not.
Good. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Stay tuned as we take a deep dive into the lives of the incredible people who ply their trade in the food and hospitality sector. Special thanks to executive producer Rob Locke for making this all happen. Follow us on Instagram at Deep in the Weeds Podcast, or email us at podcast@deepintheweeds.com.au. Stay safe and be well.